I've been in the industry in one way, shape, or form for 30 years.
30
So,
years.
Yeah. 48 years old, started out as a viticulture enology major at UC Davis, studied fermentation science, winemaking, grape growing, took some time off, went to Napa, worked for Pine Ridge Winery out there as a cellar rat. Realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in the lab, which as a winemaker is really what you do. I was playing a golf tournament, a charity golf tournament over the summer out at Wild Horse.
Oh.
And a friend who will remain nameless may have had one or too many Hornbrooks, and it was really hot.
Oh no.
And he decided to jump over a fence into somebody's pool.
No.
You have to be lying.
Our focus is mostly in the western United States, although, like I was saying before we started, we have the state of Tennessee now that's asking for distribution, Colorado asking for distribution, Idaho, Montana. Own your backyard. My belief is you got to own your backyard first because you just get spread too thin.
All right, man. Legacy Lounge. Sometimes people want to talk.
We have an incredible guest here.
What's up, brother?
The definition of the Legacy Lounge is stuff that he's putting together. He's a great community leader. His story is amazing.
All right, episode 39. We got Andy Donald, owner and founder of Jackson Temple Spirits. Very good to have you, Andy.
Wonderful to be here.
Welcome
Thank you for
to
having
the lounge, man.
me. It's very comfortable.
And specifically, we have here this gorgeous bottle of Hornbrook. This is the 10-point gin, and then you also have the other one, which is called
Linen.
Which is that is the one that I poured for all three of us. So why don't we just take a little sip of this guy?
Cheers.
Oh, yeah. The linen is great.
That's incredible.
94 proof, 100% American corn, vacuum distilled. We can get into that.
Man.
That's elderflower, lemongrass, cucumber, chamomile. We use two different types of juniper. We use a wild foraged juniper from Hornbrook, California, and Italian juniper.
You said from Holbrook, California?
Hornbrook. The namesake of the brand.
Got it.
Man, that's great. And before we got on here, you talked about the two different kind and how they're used and everything like that. So I would love to just jump straight into that.
Right into it.
This one is great.
Thank you. So I make two different gins, Linen being kind of the lighter, actually more complex of the two, 13 botanicals in it. We use less juniper in Linen. So for, those people who aren't big gin fans, I've turned more gin haters into gin lovers
with
Linen.
Yeah.
It, like I said, super complex, great in like French 75s, aviations, any cocktail that, gin and soda, gin on the rocks. It's not a lot of gins. I think people want to drink on the rocks or room temperature.
This one, yes.
Yeah, but that one will work. 10 point is more of our gin drinker's gin. It's a bolder gin. Grapefruit, star anise, fennel, jasmine. It will great Negroni, great gin and tonic, great bee's knees. Kind of stands up to everything. It's really kind of what the cocktail industry is leaned towards. General consumer or retail tends to skew more towards Linen, but the cocktail world tends to skew towards 10 point. I do a lot of demos with it. And it's crazy. You'll get people who love both.
Yeah.
Rarely will you find somebody who doesn't love one of them.
Gotcha.
They're like, I like that, but I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome. Same proof on both of them.
94 proof. Yeah. There's something about juniper and 90 proof and above that kind of makes juniper pop.
Yeah.
And also higher proof does better in cocktails.
Yeah. Man, incredible.
So I wanted to just kind of know the backstory because, you worked for Young's.
Worked for Young's. I've been in the industry in one way, shape, or form for 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. 48 years old, started out as a viticulture enology major at UC Davis. Studied fermentation science, winemaking, grape growing. Took some time off, went to Napa, worked for Pine Ridge Winery out there as a cellar rat. Realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in the lab, which as a winemaker is really what you do unless you own the winery, and I wasn't independently wealthy. So I was also concurrently working in the restaurant business, working in kitchens. At 21, literally like the day after my birthday, started tending bar. Loved the restaurant industry, so I decided that I'm not going to be a winemaker. I'm going to be a restaurant owner. And I was managing restaurants. At 22 years old, I got picked up to be a manager of crawdads on the river.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah.
In the late 90s, early 2000s, it was I was like a kid in a candy store.
This ain't the first time we met, then. I know that much.
Some really good people watching.
Oh, insane people watching. And, I learned a lot of lessons there early in my restaurant career. Ended up graduating with a esteemed degree of communications from UC Davis. And continued in the restaurant business. I was the opening GM for Riverside Clubhouse in Sacramento, which in 2002 was like a poppin' place.
That was it, man.
It was.
Dang.
Yeah.
We've definitely met multiple times.
There are some big time regulars at. I mean, I'm sure
Oh
that
yeah.
there still is.
It was at the peak of the Kings.
Yes.
I mean, Chris Weber, and like the rest of the team.
Yeah.
It was their regular hangout because the Haynes brothers, who owned Riverside Clubhouse, were close with the Maloofs and that whole group. So yeah, we had, everybody in there.
Yeah.
It was another great learning experience.
So what was you were the GM there?
I was a GM there, yeah.
And you were in your young 20s.
I was in my early 20s, yeah. I was probably 23, 20, or 24, maybe, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Sounds right.
And then the owner of Soga's restaurant in Davis, which is the first restaurant I ever worked in, reached out. He had moved the restaurant from a small location to a larger location, larger bar, and he asked if I'd come over and help him out, come in as a equity partner in that. And we turned the bar program around, and that was... My wife and I got married in 2006, and we sold it in 2007, which was, we couldn't have sold it at a better time.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Did a brief stint with a POS computer company. I've had some awful jobs in my life. That was the worst. I irrigated tomato fields when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I would rather move 30-inch irrigation pipe than work for a computer company. I hate computers. So left there, and I was miserable. So I reached out to my friends at Southern, reached out to my friends at Young's, offered a sales job with Southern, offered a management job with Young's. So I went with Young's.
So I'm imagining that you formed obviously those relationships from being a GM.
Yep.
Now, those are those two distributions that are from Sacramento or from California? Or?
No, Southern's the largest wine and spirits distributor. They're now called Southern Glaciers. They're the largest spirits distributor in the United States.
Oh my gosh!
And Young's at the time, I think, was number 5 in the country. Southern was national in certain states. They're now in, I think, 48 states. Young's was Western United States. So yeah, they still are. They're the two big houses that, for better or for worse, that you have to deal with if you are a restaurant, bar, retailer that's in the state of California.
Wow.
If you want a big brand, you got to buy it from them.
Wow.
You can buy my stuff from a small brand or a small distributor, but yeah, the distribution world has changed dramatically, and I would say especially the last decade. Fortunately, I got to watch it and understand it, and that's definitely helped me out in what I'm doing now. But it's a totally different landscape than it was before. Young's was a family-owned company. think when they sold, they're 127 years old, originally based out of Los Angeles. So they're a California-based company. Southern's based in Florida. But there was definitely it was ran by the owners, and you, especially if you're in management, you knew the owners. It was a great company to work for. They got purchased by RNDC out of Texas a couple of years ago, and it's a different company. You know, we always took pride in the fact that we built brands at Young's. You know, Tito's, when it came to California, it went to Young's.
Yeah.
And, you know, we spent 7 years building up that brand before anybody knew what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, you know, ugly package. Tito's, I mean, how many people I heard ask if it was tequila.
Exactly.
Exactly. But you know, they went to market in the right way. Another great learning experience that I had was looking at companies that launched their brands the right way, went to market the right way, and those that didn't. It's a long game. Spirits business is not fast money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is pushing a very large rock up a very steep hill, and you have to be prepared for that.
Ooh.
So
Of the ones that weren't successful, what do you think the biggest reasons why some of these companies didn't launch correctly?
underfunded,
Okay.
no identity, no authenticity. You know, our company, Jackson Temple Spirits, we call it a house of brands. The alternative is a branded house. So a branded house, you know, you've got, this is what a lot of these small distilleries are doing, is they're producing vodka, they produce gin, well, because they're waiting on their whiskey to be ready. They make whiskey, but they also make rum, and they make brandy, and they make a million different things. And the consumer doesn't, they have no identity. They don't, Hornbrook is gin, and it will only ever be gin.
Yeah.
You're not going to see Hornbrook whiskey come out. You're not going to see Hornbrook brandy. Hornbrook gin is Hornbrook gin. Jackson Temple is our whiskey brand. Jackson Temple will be a whiskey brand. Agave de Codorniz is our agave brand. You will not see Agave de Codorniz gin. That way, the consumer knows that, you know, Tito's, it's vodka.
Yep.
Yes, Tito, or God-given name, Tito's God-given name is Burt Beverage.
You serious?
I'm dead serious.
Whoa.
So, in the early days, we actually used to meet with Tito quite a bit, and great guy. And we'd, you know, when it started picking up, we started, you know, would ask Tito, "Are you going to come out with something else?" And he's like, "I just make vodka."
That's smart. I like that.
great, man.
Yeah. He threatened, you know, down the road I may start a tequila brand, but it'll be called something different. I always use it, you know, the Anheuser-Busch produces Bud, but Bud is Bud. Bud Light, it's Bud. It's not, they don't, if they wanted to create a different beer, they created a different name.
Yeah.
So back to your original question, no brand identity, underfunded, and the biggest thing is not understanding how the distribution channels work. The state of California, the largest state in the union, is an open state, 3-tier system. As a distiller, I cannot sell my product directly to the consumer unless they come to my distillery. It has to go to a distributor, gets taxed. Then it goes to the retailer, taxed again, goes to the consumer, taxed again. Government gets their money 3 times on it, and they do not like not getting that money.
That's crazy.
So it's understanding how to navigate that second tier of the distributor that I think is the death nail in a lot of small spirits companies' coffins. You know, you got to go in ready to incentivize the sales force, you know, sales incentives. If you don't have, that was one of the things with Tito's. They always paid. You know, great incentives, spent a lot of time in Austin because we sold a lot of Tito's.
Man.
You know, we're seeing the distribution network being an issue for small distilleries more now with the consolidation of Young's or RNDC and Southern, where, like I said before, Young's was a brand building company. They don't have time to build brands anymore. They have to make sure that they're keeping the top dogs healthy and happy. And that means that the eye is never on the ball of a small distributor or a small brand.
So you just kind of, this is where my curiosity lies, is it sounds like, first and foremost, I say this to Rene all the time, like, how lucky are we? It's just how this has turned out, but we're tasting a small batch, like cream of the crop gin. I can say the same exact thing about the Enalama tequila. I can say the same thing about the Arte Gnome tequila. It's
Great spirit.
so different too when you get to meet the people that are making it.
100%.
Right? You have a relationship. We're big wine guys, so it's the same when we get to drink wine from St. Helena and some of the wineries and winemakers that we're friends with. But it seems like it's just next to impossible for you to work with some of those big distributors that you're talking about, because their focus is probably on the Jack Daniels of the world.
Absolutely, and it should be. They pay the bills.
Yeah.
For those big distributors, it's typically the, top 5 suppliers. Those suppliers will have multiple brands. Brown-Forman owns Jack Daniels. They also own Herradura Tequila. They also own, they just sold Sonoma-Cutrer Winery, but I mean, they own Corbel. They own dozens of brands. The top, 5 to 10 pay probably 95% of their bills.
There it is. There's no.
So is it possible for you to, because you're doing your own distribution?
We now have a small distributor, ACS, newer distributor for the state of California. And those distributors are going to be key in the formula for small brands like mine.
Got it.
To be successful. The problem is convincing the retailers, the bars and restaurants that are fine just dealing with the 2 distributors because they're busy.
Yeah.
Dealing with the 2 distributors that they have, to bring on another one for one brand or maybe 2 brands. What it really has become, 15 years ago, you could launch your brand with a Young's Market company, even a Southern, and get the attention because their sales reps were out selling your stuff too. Now, distilleries need to have their own sales force, basically, which makes it more expensive.
Yep.
But either you're comfortable spending the money or you're comfortable losing it, right? It's you got to have the right people out in the market, or you have to have people in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that I see it too is like, it's like how I feel. I'm just going to name one place. There's more places here, this in Sacramento, but La Cerveceria.
Yeah.
When you go there, you're like, thank you. You're like, thank you for literally carrying the best tequila,
Right.
the best mezcal. It's totally what Rob's all about.
Yep.
And I can say that, like looking at your gin, pick a place outside of Sacramento and pick a restaurant that is special and unique, right? That has character, not like a Chevy's on the river. Like a Chevy's on the river is probably not going to be carrying your gin, but another
And
Rob.
if they did, they'd be dusting it in a year.
Yeah.
I always say our product at the stage that we're at, my goal is not to be in 100% of accounts. We belong in 20% of accounts. If we can get into 20% of accounts in the next 5 years, that is a win.
I like it.
Because that 20% are those good accounts that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Are the accounts that are actually going to represent it. They're going to they'll hand sell it. They take pride in what they're selling. They're just not pushing just another cocktail across the bar.
So the goal for you as a spirit owner, a distiller owner, is to be in the right bottle shops / liquor stores, the right restaurants.
Yep.
And not obviously just in Northern California, but throughout the nation.
Correct. Yeah. Our focus is mostly in the Western United States. It's Although, like I was saying before we started, we have the state of Tennessee now that's asking for distribution, Colorado asking for distribution, Idaho, Montana. Own your backyard.
Yeah, for sure.
Or my belief is you got to own your backyard first, because you just get spread too thin. And we're doing a good job of that. We're in Rayleigh's, Bel Air, Nob Hill, Nugget, Total Wine, and they sell our product and they do a good job of it. But when I go do demos at those stores, they sell a hell of a lot more product, because,
course,
like you were saying earlier, you're talking to the owner, you're talking to the person who made the gin. But bottle shops like Roe actually cares about what he's selling.
100%.
And he will sell you my gin.
Yeah.
And those are the important accounts that, are going to
I love it.
actually talk up your stuff.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that, that really are helping us build the brand.
Man, that's incredible. Now tell me how you got settled on this, this version of each of these gins.
So there's a lot of gin out there, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really good gin out there. There's a lot of gin that is really good that the general consumer thinks of as their grandfather's gin or their dad's gin, and they think gin's gross. When I was with Young's, there's a portion where I was running the on-premise in the East Bay. We were the representative of St. George Spirits, Hangar One Vodka. And the funny thing is that they actually had to sell Hangar One to Young's. So ship it to our warehouse in Morgan Hill, and then we'd ship it back to their distillery so the government could get their tax dollars. So I ended up spending a lot of time at that distillery, ended up becoming good friends with Lance Winters and Dave over there. They're phenomenal people. I consider them definitely mentors. And we're pretty far down the line of this, and it was becoming the worst kept secret in the industry that I was going to leave Young's and start my own company. And I get a call from Lance Winters, and he's been invited to be the first distiller to ever be the keynote speaker at the California Wine Symposium in Sacramento. And he asked if I'd join him and at his table, have lunch, and be there for his talk. And absolute honor.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to tell him. And now's the time. I want him to hear it from me first. And so he does his speech. We had a wonderful lunch. We're wrapping up, and I pulled him aside. I'm like, I got some news. And he looks at me. He's like, you're leaving Young's, aren't you? I said, I am. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm opening up my own distillery, and I'm going to make gin. And he makes very, very good gin. And I was just waiting for the response. Was it going to be a turnaround and walk away? Was it be like, a good luck? And he looked at me and said, Andy, I couldn't be happier for you. He said, I will teach you everything that I can. You ever have a question, you call me. You just have to promise me two things. And I said, you got it. This is headed in the right direction. Said, one, don't be Elvis. That's a very Lance Winters quote. I said, what do you mean don't be Elvis? He said, there's only one Elvis. You go to an Elvis impersonation concert, there's a whole bunch of people up there trying to be Elvis, but there's only one Elvis. Vast majority of the gin that's hitting the market right now are all trying to be the gin that was made prior to them. He said, be your own, be original, be unique, which was the direction we are already headed. You have to be. I always say that, we produce unique spirits that are familiar. You don't want to be too different. I mean, we launched a gin that was made out of oysters. And the spirit itself was unique. It tasted good, but it's not going to be your everyday drinker. Like, it's just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the second thing that Lance made me promise him, he said, don't suck because it makes us all look bad. So I'm hoping that we made Lance happy with our two gins. So being unique. We use a method of distillation called vacuum distillation to make our gin, which complicates things and numerous ways. One, since our brick and mortar distillery is not open yet, we had to find a vacuum still where we could produce this gin. There's only 3 of them in the country from what we know.
Wow.
One of them, thank God, happened to be at Stillwater Spirits in Petaluma.
Nice.
And they were kind enough to let us use their equipment, and their master distiller is one of our distillers on this project. Vacuum distillation for the Cliff Notes version of it. Regular distillation, great way to make gin. Take your ethanol, take your botanicals, macerate them, don't macerate them, throw them in the still, fire it up at 173 degrees. Ethanol separates from water.
This is all like in a stainless
Copper. Well, vacuum still is stainless because it is under vacuum. If it was copper, it'd implode.
Got it.
But most stills are copper, or a mixture of the two. So regular distillation starts at 173, ends at about 212. In the middle of that is your hearts, and that's your gin. Great way to make gin. Vacuum distillation is also used, it's funny, to make perfume, and it's also used in the petrochemical industry. But what it allows us to do is we distill at a lower temperature. So our macerated liquid goes into the still. The still is completely closed off. And a pump pulls the air out of the still. And if you think back to chemistry, if you change the atmospheric pressure of a liquid, you can change its boiling point. Why water boils at different temperatures at sea level or in the mountains. So we actually start distillation at about 115 degrees.
Wow.
What that allows us to do is use things like fresh cucumber and linen, and it doesn't cook it. We finish our distillation at 151 degrees or 152 degrees, and that's before regular distillation would even start, right? So it leaves a lot of the heavier oils in the still. That's why you get a very bright, light tasting gin. It pops. And when I was in my sales days, launched a number of European vacuum distilled gins, and I loved them. And really nobody else is doing it. So we did it. I did not know how to vacuum distill. I had practiced a lot on a conventional still, but you cannot make these gins out of a conventional still. It would not taste the same. So we have a master distiller, Jordan Vi, who's the master distiller at Savage and Cook on Mare Island.
Oh my God, I've driven by there, dude. That is such a
They make great whiskey.
Okay, yeah. Those guys were connected to, maybe not anymore, but
Dave Finney?
yeah.
Dave Finney owns it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Dave Finney's the founder and owner of Prisoner Wine.
Oh, wow. There it is.
Yeah.
Which I'll go on record and saying is dog shit.
Oh!
I don't know Dave. I probably will never meet Dave. So. But if you're hearing this, I'm not a big fan of your wine, but a lot of women are.
Oh, yeah. No. Hey, exactly.
No, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but have you heard of Brasswood Winery in St. Helena?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Angelina Mondavi is the winemaker, and then our good buddy, who's part owner of it, is Marcus Marquez. Does that name ring a bell?
Doesn't.
Do you remember back in the day? It was one of my favorite restaurants, the El Wine Lounge.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Marcus was the owner.
Oh, okay.
And then they had some issues come up, and he ultimately filed bankruptcy and had to skip town, and was quickly hired up by Goose and Gander. Love Goose and Gander. Yeah,
Goose and Gander.
Really good burger.
If you're anybody from Goose and Gander out there listening, I love your product.
Oh, well, let me just tell you this right now. I would love to get you in Goose and Gander.
Yeah, I'd love that.
And I'd love to get you into Brasswood, because at Brasswood they have not only are they a spectacular winery, but they have top 3 restaurant in all of St. Helena.
Yeah.
I mean, their restaurant.
They're legit.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So good.
Their restaurant and bar is phenomenal. But myself, Marcus, and then my CPA at the time, we drove to Mare Island. This is before they even opened their doors. And it was just like the coolest concept. And I don't know if they like did a halt, but they were going to be building properties over there. And
I don't know. It's been a minute since I've been out there.
okay.
I think the last time I was out there was when Jordan finished our bench trials of our gin, Jordan has a small vacuum still that so between our two gins, we've got 23 botanicals in the two. He individually distilled each botanical and then put them to my ratios, my recipe, and then did a version that was a little bit, some tweaks to it, just to see which one we'd like better. Then we went through and we blind tasted the two sets against each other, a group of us independently, and it was unanimous across the board. We're like, okay, we like number one of this one and number two of that one. And came back, he's like, motherfucker, you chose your own recipe both times. Versus the tweaks that he made. And to the point that most times when you come up with a gin recipe, it's okay, let's try this botanical makeup, and then you make tweaks.
Yeah.
And you make tweaks, and eventually you get to what you end up in a bottle. Both of our gins, we got on the first try, and we went to like our consultant in Chicago. They went through everything, and they're like, they're perfect. There's no reason to make any changes.
Who were you? Who was you referring? You were tasting these with?
Our group here. They're bartenders, restaurateurs, people whose palates I trust.
Yep.
And then we have a consulting firm that we work with, Thoroughbred Spirits out of Chicago. Who honestly, if it wasn't for them, I would not be sitting here today. Not all consultants are the same. They're incredibly good.
Wow.
Design, packaging, that's all them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was, we're the ones who said yes. But they, soup to nuts, they've helped us with everything.
That's cool.
Just going back to your original question, how did we come up with them? I wanted to make a gin that paid homage to my home area, Sacramento. Linen is actually named after the white linen cocktail, which originated at Ella. And people are going to say, no. It did get famous at the Shady Lady. Rene Dominguez, who came up with the white linen cocktail, was working at Ella when it was first created. He left Ella and went to Shady Lady, and that's where it blew up.
That's crazy.
So,
man,
the botanical makeup of it is the botanical makeup of a white linen cocktail: lemon, cucumber, elderflower, and then all the other botanicals are supporting cast members basically to make it. I didn't want it to be like you pour a white. It's like an RTD, ready to drink cocktail.
Yeah.
It's an homage to it, right?
Yeah.
Because the white linen cocktail, while it does have actually global recognition, you can go to London and order a white linen. They actually know what it is. I didn't want it to be a cocktail in a bottle. Yeah. I wanted it to have hints of it. People who know the cocktail, when you sip the gin, you're like, oh, I get it. I also wanted to make a gin that was appealing to a broader spectrum of people, not just gin drinkers. I joke that I also made this gin for my wife, and she loves it. She was not a gin drinker. She is now, and apologize. She loves them both, but she's definitely a linen drinker. And then 10 Point I made for myself.
Man,
I love gin and grapefruit. I love juniper and grapefruit. I think they pair really well together. 10 Point is got a anise background to it, which I hate black licorice. And when I was coming up with the recipe for this, black licorice, both gins have a backbone of London dry style botanicals, orris root, angelica root, cubeb berry, coriander. Licorice is a traditional London dry style botanical, and I just could not put licorice in my gin. I'm like, what's similar to licorice? Well, I like star anise, and I like fennel. So I put those two in there. And when we got the gin, or the first run of the gin done, I tasted it. I'm like, it's more pronounced than I wanted it, but it just works. And coming from somebody who doesn't like licorice, I adore it.
Yeah.
Pop that open.
Because now I want to taste the two.
It, like I said earlier, it's definitely more of our cocktail gin. Those stronger botanical notes really pop.
So the question that has been circling my head as you're telling this story. Let me see this.
Get him.
Hold up.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush you.
That's all right. I'll make.
He'll survive.
Yeah.
He'll survive.
It's not my first rodeo.
Yeah, I know, right?
Is as you're explaining the story, you are the brainchild, the founder, the creator of this. You're not the scientist. That's Jordan.
Correct.
Was Jordan.
It's still, Jordan's still involved. Don Payne, who is one of the owners of Stillwater, he taught Jordan actually how to distill. A real funny, quick story about that. Jordan was a winemaker. He was working in, I want to say Napa. He's gonna, if he hears this, he's gonna call me up. Like, I was working in Sonoma. Anyway, he was working in a winery.
Great. What's your pick? I'm sorry. This is great. Which one would you pick?
So this is just for me. So first and foremost, I don't drink a lot of gin, and I think that that's going to change. And I would not just fucking say that. Like, this is, I can't believe I'm drinking gin
At room temperature straight.
Yeah, that's
That
so
first
wild.
one was great. I think I'm leaning this way.
But here's what I'd say: I prefer the first one because I just love all the popping of the botanicals. I get a lot less of that in this one. I can
on purpose, right?
Yeah.
on purpose, and I can immediately just correct me if I'm wrong here, but like I love a good martini. To me, gin is way more fun and exciting than vodka.
Oh God, yeah.
Like right,
Yeah.
so we're
Vodka
there.
is varying degrees of white.
Yeah, but if I'm gonna make a martini, it's not even a question of a doubt. The martini is getting made with this one, right?
I actually prefer linen in martinis.
Interesting.
Because
I think that'd
just,
be weird to
just a
olive.
little, no, because I do it with a twist or a slice of cucumber.
Bingo.
Yeah, I actually don't use olives in either of my gins. People do, and people like olive people, like dirty martini people, love 10 point.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And then you just said it right there. Is like for me, there's people like even with the black licorice that can't stand a green olive. I love
So
green
do I.
olive and I love dirty, and that would be good. I wouldn't want to make that combo with the botanical ones,
I would agree with that.
but with lemon and cucumber all day long.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, we got in the middle of tasting. Go right back to it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I can't. I just took a shot. I can't even remember where it was.
Oh, you're talking
This is a quick story.
You were talking about Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jordan. Yeah. So Jordan wanted to learn how to distill, and Stillwater is in Petaluma. He went by one day and shoved his resume underneath the door. And at the time, Don didn't have the capital to bring on another distiller, and just held on to his resume. I don't think he even responded to him. He just held on to it. And I think it was like 6 months later, he got a big contract job that came in. And he's like, shit, I'm going to need some hands. Goes back to his drawer, grabs Jordan's resume and calls him up. And he's like, hey, you want to learn how to distill? I'll teach you how to distill. But it's going to have to be like on a internship basis. He's like, I can't really afford to hire you right now. Jordan quit his job and went to work for Don and learned how to distill. From there, got picked up. He was a partner for Breckenridge Distillery. Went out there, was their master distiller, and then Dave Finney picked him up to do Savage and Cook, and he also does he did. Woody Harrelson came out with a gin last year. That was Jordan's gin.
Nice.
Playboy does their series of different like whiskey releases, cognac releases. That's all Jordan. He's a total rock star.
Damn.
That is crazy.
We scored that he was willing to work with us.
How did you guys get
Through
linked?
Thoroughbred.
Nice.
Thoroughbred Spirits are they're a consulting firm in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, no wonder you give a shout out to them. They seem
Yeah.
like they're,
Oh, no, they're
they're
great.
dialed.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Savage, it's all coming back to me now. Probably some of the coolest bottles I've ever seen.
The new stuff is very cool.
So I'm like the ones that I'm referring to. They're all black with like these weird like lips and like.
I know.
You're not a fan?
I'm not a fan.
To
The reason why, and I agree with you, they're a cool looking bottle. You can't tell what's in it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You don't see the color. It's all.
and you don't see like you look at my bottle. I'm blind and I can see that
Yeah.
it says gin
Yeah.
on the bottom of it. I know that it's
point.
gin.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of brands get too wrapped up in trying to have a really cool package.
Yeah.
That doesn't convey to the consumer what the hell is it.
Yeah.
Right. That was Tito's.
Yeah.
Looks people listen to the name and think tequila, but you look at it and it says vodka on it.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to answer this, by the way, but I was told at some point in time by somebody smarter than me that Tito's is not really good vodka.
I would disagree wholeheartedly with it.
Okay. Holy shit.
Yeah,
But again,
I hadn't heard that.
vodka's boring.
Yeah.
Right?
It is, yeah.
It's again varying degrees of white.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, but I think Tito's is very clean. It's 100% corn, so it's sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat produces rye produces they both produce drier spirits. It is the beef that a lot of people have with Tito's is that they lost their authenticity, which I think is core to really all brands, because they are Tito's handmade vodka.
Yeah.
I've been to the distillery quite a few times, and you're not going to find a fermenter on the fucking property. There's stills and there's a bottling line. But what they do is they buy pre-rectified spirit, which is fine. Buy pre-rectified spirit and they distill it themselves to clean it up to their specifications. But people get butthurt about that. Like,
Yep.
you don't make your own spirits. Yeah, it's not handmade.
Yeah.
They still distill their own spirits. They do the finishing portion of it, and the companies that they use to produce their base spirit are producing it to their specs, right? So it's still theirs,
Yeah.
right? But people get buttered about that.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I was thinking about is, so you mentioned the different botanicals.
Mm-hmm.
Where do those all come from?
Like as far as their origin,
Yeah, like are you grabbing like you'd mentioned fennel and like all these other things?
so everything except the juniper berries are we buy from Monterey Spice Company, I think primarily.
Okay.
They're dried.
Yeah.
Got it.
And to create a consistent product that I don't have to charge you $100 a bottle, that's the best way to go. That's
Yep.
the way most people go. The juniper, though, and the origin of Hornbrook or the Hornbrook brand. Hornbrook is a very, very small town on the California-Oregon border along 5, north of Wairika. Like literally, if you blink your eyes, you'll miss it type thing. It's got 2 exits, and really only one of them leads to anything, which is a gas station. But if you like to, I always make this joke. If you'll know Hornbrook if you hunt, fish, or are a fan of methamphetamine. 'Cause
That's what I think of when
that's what they do all 3 of those things really well up there.
Really well.
But I deer hunt up there.
Yeah.
And was lucky enough to be included with a group up there that's been hunting up there, I think, since the 60s. Really good buddy of mine from college. His family has been hunting up there. And about a decade ago, I got invited to become part of the group. And so we go up there every year and hunt for a week. And during that, my experimentation time with coming up with recipes, I started picking juniper up there in the afternoons. So you hunt in the morning, you hunt in the evening, middle of the day, deer lay down, and you got to fill your time with something. And I was able to convince my buddies that we should fill it by picking juniper berries.
That's
so
great.
It's Western juniper is the trees that are up there. It is lighter in pininess and very citrus forward. So I fell in love with the gin that it was producing and wanted to make a gin or a line of gins that utilize that juniper. And
That's crazy.
It's literally from Hornbrook.
Hornbrook.
I don't say Holbrook.
Oh, boy.
Literally from Hornbrook.
It is literally from Hornbrook.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
and how fired up were you when you did all the blind taste testing and everything, that all the different ones, and it came back to you getting it right the first time?
It was weird. It was
cool,
weird.
man.
And I like our next project is Agave de Codorniz, and that's another one that I know it's not going to taste right the first time.
Yeah.
Like we were blessed the first time with our gin.
Yeah.
I worry that we're going to be on distillation 283 when we finally get our agave to where we want it to be, which is a lot more expensive than wasting some corn distillate.
Yeah.
We've got our agave in the field that are ready to go, and 5-6 years of babying those things, you want to try to get it right the first time.
Man,
We'll see.
stay right there, right?
Yeah, I wanna talk about that.
the agave.
So your orchard, where's that at?
Our farm is northwest of Woodland on County Road 19, right along Cache Creek.
Yeah.
So when I started this project, we knew we were going to do Hornbrook gin. We knew we were going to do Jackson Temple whiskey. And I had read an article in Punch Drink, I think it was, about this guy in Yolo County who's farming agave. And I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. I love tequila. I grew a background in agriculture. I got to be able to find this guy. I know farmers all over the area. My father-in-law was in ag, and talking to relatives, friends, nobody knew who this Craig guy was. And I was so fast forward probably 6 weeks, 2 months, having a random conversation with one of my college roommates, and he's asking how this project's going, and I was like, I'm just trying to find this Craig Reynolds guy in Yolo County. Apparently he's farming agave. And he's, Craig? He's like a second father to me.
What?
Like, you're kidding me. He's like, you want to meet with Craig? I said, yeah. He gets on the phone. He's like, can you and April do dinner at his house tomorrow?
What?
No, I shit you not. Next day we're having dinner with he and Cass and Kingsley and his wife at their house in Davis. And the following day we went out to his farm, which is not far from us. Saw his field, and you really want to do this? I said, absolutely. Just got to figure out where we can put it. So I drove down the road to one of my in-laws' farms, and like, hey, I'm thinking about growing some agave. Do you have any land that I could put it on? And he's like, shit, yeah, down here. Let's go. We went down, and called up Henry DeVere, and I called up Patrick Ramos, and I called him. I'm like, hey, you guys want to get in the agave business? And shit, let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
Yeah. I think like, I don't know, maybe it was 3 months later, we had a crew of Sacramento area bar industry people. It was all bartenders, bar managers, owners. They came out and planted everything with us.
Oh my goodness. No way.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Ernesto Delgado came out and he catered the thing for us. It was like this great community like event, and it's funny. I still, obviously run into these people all the time. How are our plants doing? How are our plants doing?
That's
What in the world?
crazy. That's a crazy story,
So,
man.
so they were they plants that Craig was growing?
So agave reproduce in 3 different ways, but the most common way is by pups, right? They're offshoots. So when you look at an agave plant, you'll see a lot of the babies that are around them. You can dig those off and plant those, and they are a clone of the original. So Craig had a ton of pups on his property, and we bought them off. Well, actually, backtrack. The last way they reproduce is through bobiles. So pups come first. At the end of an agave's life, they shoot the Quixote, right?
Yep.
The flowers.
Yep.
And in Mexico, they have the long-nosed agave bat. And the long-nosed agave bat is capable of fertilizing those flowers and having them turn to seed. California, we don't have the long-nosed agave bat.
Got it.
But that's why I love agave. Agave don't want to die. All they want to do is reproduce. If the flower is not pollinated, it will sprout out a tiny little agave where every flower was. So you get one Quixote off of an agave, it'll produce about 2,000
Whoa.
baby agaves off those flowers. And so Craig had taken one of his plants that he let go to Bobile and put those in trays and grew little agaves.
This is wild.
This is.
So those were what we planted initially. What we got, little ones that were, I don't know, probably 3-4 inches long. And we then, Henry, Patrick, and I ordered a truckload of potting soil and bought about 1,000, small pots. And we transplanted those and created a nursery out at the farm. Got them to where they're large enough to plant. Brought everybody out, and we planted the field. Initial planting was about 900 to 1,000 plants. First year, we learned a great lesson. We were told that agave could withstand freezing to 32 degrees. As long as it didn't last more than 48 hours consecutively.
Okay.
It's not true. Agave, especially young agave, don't like freezing temperatures even for a fucking split second.
Dang.
As soon as the small agave have a smaller penca wall, right? Their leaves. And that first year we had a couple days where it was in the high 20s for a couple hours. It killed more than 50% of what we planted.
Wow.
Ugh.
That sucks.
Yeah, that sucked. But Craig is awesome. And he's like, look, I'm sorry you lost all those plants. You can come harvest pups, which are bigger, off of our property. I'm not going to charge you.
That's incredible.
So Henry and I and Patrick out to the field, digging pups out, dig out 3 or 4 dozen at a time and went and transplanted them in our field. And the next winter came along and froze again. And we lost probably 20% of what we had planted. So next summer, we went and did the replanting. And we've resigned ourselves that our field that we have our plants in, the ones that are alive are the ones that are going to remain.
Yeah.
We're no longer going to grow tequilana down there. We grow Americana, Salmiana, Durangensis as well, which are all traditional mezcal varietals.
Oh, let's go. So tequilana just means agave that produces tequila.
Yeah, so agave tequilana Weber Blue Azul is what everybody uses in Mexico to make tequila. It's what you have to use in Mexico. It's actually what we thought we were planting. We now know that what Craig initially was growing and what is a lot of the stuff that's currently planted in Northern California, because there's a lot of other farms that we're using. Like I've sold agave to new farms from our farm. is now it's now being called Agave Yolo, and it's a cross between what they cannot figure out right now is a cross between Weber Blue and Espadin. So, which is, I think, fantastic because it's ours,
Yeah.
right? It's something unique.
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously exists somewhere in Mexico because the plants came from Mexico.
Yeah.
But it's not what is currently being
Wow.
cultivated for tequila.
Yeah.
And I love tequila and I love Espadin mezcals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
got the best of both worlds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So, want to go back to Craig. So, has Craig produced spirits?
So he himself hasn't, but his farm has provided the agave for Ventura Spirits, Shelter Distilling. St. George, Lance out at St. George has done an agave spirit. He has sold agave to a lot of different distilleries that are using it. We met this last week. So Craig and Raul Chavez, who's everybody knows as Repo. Repo's the fucking man. He is an insane. Both of them are great people. Repo will give you the shirt off his back. I mean, that day that we came out or the industry people came out and helped us plant our agave, it was a Sunday, and I called up Repo earlier in the week. I'm like, hey, can you come out and just show us how to properly plant these? He's like, no problem. So he comes out, and it's like Sunday best because he's going to church, and he grabs an agave, we get everybody around, and he's like, it's easy. Digs a hole, puts the agave down, and he just fucking takes off. He just starts planting. And I'm like, Repo, you don't have to do it. He's like, no, it's easy. And Henry and Patrick and I always joke, something that's hard, we're like, it's easy.
Wow.
And so Repo has now started, or subsequently over the past few years, has been planting more and more and more. I'll show you guys a picture of the farm that we went and looked at earlier this week. I mean, he's got a lot of agave, and we will be utilizing every little bit of it that we can. But he's got enough for us to be able to scale this brand.
So, how many years has it been now since the mature ones are? How many years has it been?
So we're in year 6 now.
Wow.
So it's time, right?
It's getting close.
Yeah. The plants that survived that first winter should be ready to harvest this summer. We let our agave go until they're ripe, until they're ready, and that happens when they shoot their Quixote. And as soon as you start seeing that, you cut it, because if you don't, that stalk uses up all the carbohydrate in the piña, and what you're left with is undistillable plant matter. So we should likely start seeing Quixotes going at like tomorrow. It could happen at any time.
And because you're a gangster and you're doing things the right way and you're making the best spirits you possibly can, you're not going to cut any corners.
Nope.
You're not going to rush the process. After those things are cut, how long?
About a year.
About a year.
They can stay in the field for about a year before they start deteriorating.
Wait, what do you mean stay in the field? I'm talking about going to production with them. Wait, like,
so you can cut the Quixote and keep the plant in the field.
okay.
Yes.
Once the plant is cut, though.
Yep. Then we got to cook it.
Yep.
Crush it, ferment it, distill it.
And I guess the question is, how long does it has to stay in the bottle or stay distilled, or does it go straight to the bottle after that?
If you're producing a Blanco. Yeah. We'll let it rest in stainless for a while. We may do 1 month barrel aging on some of our Blancos. We'll find out what we want to do.
Yeah.
That's part of that process. I don't think we're going to get it right the first time. I will not release something that I don't 100% believe in.
I had the brain fart. So we're gonna use Lost Explorer.
Yeah.
Shout out to Drew Garrison, right?
Love Drew.
Yep. So when you see the 6 and the 9 on the Lost Explorer bottle, that's how long the plant, not It's not how long it was aged. That's
I can call Drew. Yeah, no,
I'm
no.
almost positive.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not like whiskey. That's what was told to me. So like when you look at a whiskey bottle and it has a number 6 on it, that means it was.
Oh yeah, that's its age.
That's its
in
age.
barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On mezcal, using mezcal as a quick example, I saw those numbers, Roe was the one that I think taught that to me. He goes, it's not aged for 6 years. That means
It's the age of the plant.
correct.
Yeah, yeah. And 9. If now when you're saying 9 and you're talking about mezcal, that makes sense because a lot of mezcal agave varietals take a lot longer than 5 to 6 years. Like our Solmiana that we're growing, which is one of my favorite agaves. They're about 10 years until they're ready to go, but they produce a pina that is 400 plus pounds.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
So it takes longer, but I mean the yield is great out of them. I always people when I say I grow agave and that we're going to make an agave spirit, the first question is that takes a long time, doesn't it? Whiskey takes a long time to make.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's not like you run your still and out comes a 7-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
It takes the same amount of time. It takes a growing season to grow your corn, your wheat, your barley, whatever you're making your whiskey out of. You have to ferment and distill that. That needs to go in a barrel, and it's going to sit for 7 years. My agave just sit in the field for 7 years.
Yep.
And then I ferment and distill it, and I put it in a bottle, and I sell it to you. It took the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Who's your distiller going to be for this tequila?
Don Payne and myself.
Had you already mentioned this?
Don is the owner and master distiller for Stillwater and Petaluma.
Bingo. Okay.
Yeah. That being said, there will also be bringing in people who have done it a lot more than we have.
Yeah.
I've distilled some agave spirits that were good, but we're not looking for good,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
Just like Lance said to me years ago at the symposium, don't suck because it all makes us all look bad.
Yeah.
That is never more important for me than with California agave
Yeah.
because we're one of the first, right?
Just going to say.
So if
Seriously.
what we put out there is subpar or not even, if it's not above par, then automatically people are going to turn around and say, see, I told you guys couldn't do it.
Yeah. That'll be a
Right?
big thing.
And we're not looking to necessarily recreate what's going on in Mexico, right? They're tequila, mezcal are a beautiful thing. I wouldn't want to do it if I didn't believe so.
Yeah.
But what I want to create is something that's unique to California.
Yeah.
It's unique to the Sacramento region. Will it taste like tequila? Yeah. Like Chardonnay grown in Napa Valley tastes a lot like the Chardonnay grown in France, but they taste a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's similar with what we're going to do with our agave spirits.
That's super exciting. And I got to think, especially in our area, it's highly anticipated because how many of the friends planted it, right?
Oh,
They can't wait for this.
They get their first bottle for free.
That's incredible, man.
There's going to be a sense of.
They don't get it for free. I know ABC, that's not allowed. But yeah.
There's going to be just I can imagine being a bar owner and having my hands on that and getting to the point where you're actually selling that and pouring that at your establishment. There's
Right.
the,
How cool,
the
man.
sense of pride. And
Seriously.
again, it's like, you're living it, obviously,
Yeah.
but having your hands on it. And then we haven't even talked about, I know you have 3 kids, but I'm sure it's been a really cool process for them to see dad and the journey that is happening here, because you're still in like infant stage with all this.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, I have an amazing family. I have an amazing wife. Like this would never have been able to ever happen if April wasn't 100% supportive of it. And my kids are the same way. They are incredibly flexible and understanding of either my lack of time or my at times short temper. I mean, it's a stressful thing starting any business. But yeah, I mean, I've got pictures of my kids out in the agave field when, you know, the agave they were taller than the agave. You know, my daughter's 16 now, and she's a tall 16-year-old. So she's still taller than the agave. But I mean, the boys may be challenged by the plant site. You know, no, they've been able to see the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. What does it look like 5 years from now, man? With the trajectory you are, what you envision, how you think you're going to grow it, what does it look like 5 years from now?
5 years from now, we'll have hopefully, and I know it won't be the only California agave spirit out in the market. I really hope that the market continues to grow. That that category becomes actually a true category.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's going to take longer than 5 years, but I hope in 5 years it's still there or on that trajectory. I hope that with Hornbrook, it continues on the path that it's already on.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, we're going to be very happy.
Yeah, yeah.
And in 5 years, I hope that our whiskey brand will be out. Again, everything we do at Jackson Temple Spirits is with authenticity.
Yeah.
We're very clear about if we source something, I'm going to tell you about it, or I'll tell you that I did. I'll tell you that we source the base spirit for our gin. So do about 95% of gin producers out there. I always equate it to painters, and do they make their own canvases? No, gin to me is the spirit's version of a painting, right?
I like
paint
that.
Botanicals. I do not make my own canvas because making your own canvas requires incredibly tall, complex vodka stills.
Yeah.
Which is why most craft distilleries make shitty vodka.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the right stills to make that vodka.
Yeah.
If I was going to make a gin and want to make the base spirit, if I was going to make it well, that gin would be twice the price.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah.
I can buy pre-rectified NGS and redistill it and use it as the base spirit of my gin and produce a much better product. The flip side of that, though, is our whiskey. You look out in the whiskey market right now, and the shelves are full of bourbon brands that are primarily made from about 3 to 4 different distilleries in the United States.
Yeah.
It's the same juice in a different fucking bottle.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which, you know, it when it first started happening, you get it. Like, you know, everybody's putting their own spin on it, but it's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
And it's what you're seeing. There's a glut in the market right now. You can buy good quality MGP juice out there at, you know, I heard from a reputable source last week, you could get a barrel for $1,200 of good liquid.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't somebody who doesn't have a true passion for it, they're just they think they can make a quick buck, or, you know, I'm going to build this whiskey brand and Diageo is going to come and buy it, and I'm going to, you know, sail away on my yacht.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a quick 2-minute break.
Yep.
And then we'll
Man, where'd that come from? Is that downstairs?
Yeah.
So, you had mentioned 3 kids, ages again?
16, 14, like literally turned 16 and 14 in the last 5 days.
Man.
And another to turn 12 in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go.
A girl, 2 boys.
So, what's their thoughts on, watching this all come to life?
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we're back.
We're recording.
You didn't announce yourself yet.
Yeah. No, well, they've been around it forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got pictures and video of my now 16-year-old daughter with jugs of molasses, pouring it into a kettle when I was making, rum.
That's awesome, man.
When I first started distilling, my boy is now turning 12. I mean, at a really young age, used to sit right by me at the still, help me take measurements. They've just been around it the entire time. I think it's been if anything, I hope a great lesson in, what we're capable of doing, that, this wasn't handed to me. We still have to work our asses off to make this a success. That I know that they see that, and I hope that one of them eventually wants to get in the business, and I think probably maybe my youngest. He seems to have the most interest in it.
Yeah.
But I know they dig it. I think, it's always, when Hornbrook gets big, then we can I'm like, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes.
That's great.
Dad's working on it. Mom's working on it.
You know what I constantly enjoy and continue to lean into, kids. I mean, it's obviously different now than it was. There's so much instant gratification. Anything that we can do that shows, you work hard now, you might not see any success for long. Is such a great way to teach right now, because it's opposite of what every kid is getting, you know? So this is,
you got to get kicked in the teeth a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
It makes it all worth it at the end. And knowing that little by little, you keep finding a way to take another step forward. That's what you're showing them, man.
Right. It was just the agave, when we planted the agave, and, that first freeze that we had, and driving down to the field, and, starting to see plants wilt. And then, a week later, they started turning gray, and now they're black, and coming home, and, well, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to replant.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to keep pushing. And I know that my kids see that. And I agree with you in a time where there is so much instant gratification. And I think there's a whole generation plus that feel entitled to success. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I mean, success is, what is it? Branch Rickey said, luck is I'm going to butcher this, but luck is the culmination of good planning. It's, you got to work at this shit.
Yep.
That's what we do.
Man, I love it. And just all the plans and the story behind it, man. That's why we put this podcast together. These stories are amazing, and they should be highlighted. I know you try to get this information out to who you can, but, you got an amazing product right now. I'm super excited to see what the Agave product turns into and everything like that. And the fact that you continue every step of the way, you've gone in a direction where you've been able to differentiate yourself, not be Elvis, but at the same time, you don't need to recreate stuff, but it's your twist on it, and it's super unique. And that's why you're always going to stand out.
Unique yet familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There it is.
And just so I'm clear too, we now officially have permission if we're golfing at El Macero. No, because I wanted to
This
make
is on
sure
record now.
Get this recorded.
What was your wife's name again?
April.
So I got to remember that, because if we see April, she's gonna be like, "Who the hell are you guys?" I'm like, "We're very good."
You're right. She's much better looking than I am. She will. If you're in our backyard, it'll make her day because she gets to heckle you.
Nice.
She shit talks, and she will.
Because she golfs as well.
She's a damn good golfer. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness, that's so great. It's definitely gonna be Chris in there, not me. Don't worry.
Hop in the pool if you're hot. It was funny. I was playing a golf tournament, a charity golf tournament over the summer out at Wild Horse.
Oh.
And a friend who will remain nameless may have had one or too many Hornbrooks, and it was really hot.
Oh no!
And he decided to jump over a fence
into
somebody's pool.
No,
You have to be lying.
that's so good.
Yeah,
I know who this was.
do you?
No.
Does the human being have opposite color skin as you and me?
No.
All right. Well, damn shit.
Well, you're wrong.
I just thought that that's some shit that Ro would do.
It is shit that Ro would do. I could totally see Ro doing it. No, he was escorted off the premises.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was.
The homeowner was not happy.
Oh.
And as the homeowner of a house on
a
golf course, if somebody jumped in my pool, I would not be happy either. But I think I wouldn't. I'd be upset for about 5 minutes, and then I'd start laughing. Like, you got to find the comedy in that.
That's wild. Do you have a pool?
I do.
Nice. All right. This is making it easier for me to know which house
I know.
it is.
I know exactly which house you're in.
Yeah.
So now that you said where it is, man, that's freaking awesome, man.
You got dogs?
I do. And she is an absolute killer. So I'd watch.
Are you
out for her.
serious?
She's a French bulldog, dude.
Oh,
Oh my God, I have a Frenchie too.
Yeah.
I adopted a Frenchie. I have a black lab, and Kendra has a Frenchie. And the Frenchie will not leave my black lab site. Has to be connected to the hip at all times to a human.
We had an English bulldog, and that I absolutely adored. And April really wanted a Frenchie when our dog passed, and we got her. This was before the big Frenchie boom. Mm-hmm. It was right actually at the beginning of the Frenchie boom. And we brought her home 4 days before lockdown of COVID.
Oh.
And so that dog had 3 kids at home. Myself at home. More than any, like it got so much love. It is for a Frenchie, really well behaved.
Yeah.
But literally, and I know it's just a part of the breed. That thing had, like, if I sit on the couch, boom, right on my lap.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's in your space.
I have one too. So,
Oh, do you?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just over a year. So yeah.
They're manly
crazy.
They're manly dogs.
Did we all three of us? Did we just become best friends?
We did just become best friends. It's like we were a wolf pack. We're a wolf pack now.
So real quick, I want to kind of get a rundown. I don't think we even discussed this, but are both of these going for the same price?
They are. Yeah. So MSRP is $39.99.
Oh, great.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Very approachable price. Holy smokes.
I mean, it depends where you're going to buy it. They're anywhere from mid 40s to high 30s.
Okay.
Basically, is where you're going to find it.
And are there currently any restaurants or bars in Sacramento?
Lots of them.
Lots of them.
Lots of them.
Camden was one. I'm just curious.
Yeah, we've been the house gin and tonic at Camden since
that's badass.
Well,
since we
because
launched.
I think there's not a restaurant I can think of in Sacramento that doesn't make better gin cocktails than Camden.
Yep. Oliver and Chris and the crew are amazing and been huge supporters of us since our launch. But I mean, we're at the Snug, we're at Ella, we're at Butterscotch Den. Hook and Ladder is a great account for us. Mulvaney's is a great account for us. We're in a number of bars and restaurants up in Roseville, Folsom. We're now that we have statewide distribution, it's great. I get the depletion report from our distributor, and I'm like, oh, we're in Hermosa Beach. We're in Long Beach.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, we just started with them in November, but I am definitely looking forward to some hard-working road trips in the first quarter of next year to actually go to some of these spots.
Yeah.
It's one thing with my background, right? I have a lot of friends in the industry in our area, so there's a bit of, like, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or if it's just like, not self-doubt even, but are they bringing it in because they like it? Or are they bringing it in because they like me?
Yeah.
I will say
call.
our reorder rate is over 90%.
Good job,
which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like, is it me or is it my gin? When we're starting to see sales in like Michelin star restaurants outside of Sacramento that are buying it just because it's good, that is pretty validating.
Damn.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be good for you too. I'm sure you've done this, and if you haven't already, but like getting to like scout out those places and go there for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Has to just feel amazing.
It is. Yeah. It is. That's where the imposter syndrome comes in.
Yeah.
Because I launched so many other brands, right? I represented other people's brands, and I always looked at the distillers and the owners with such high regard. And I'm like, well, I'm just Andy. I do know what I'm doing, but like it's kind of surreal at times when it gets hard, right? That's when I do have to take a step back and look at it and like, shit, look where you are.
Yeah.
Like this is your dream, and it's working.
Man.
Wait a minute. You said this is your dream over crawdads?
Yeah, that was a dream job then.
That's so good. Good job, man.
I want to transition while we wrap up. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. We haven't asked this one in a while, and I'm gonna put you on the spot just because it's fun, and I'm putting you on the spot because you're a local boy. Mm-hmm. Top 5 favorite restaurants in the Tri-County area for you.
God, that's a rough one because I do have so many
I
friends.
know.
Okay.
I know. You're gonna get in trouble with that one.
We'll do a disclaimer. Well, there's no disclaimer.
Yeah. Top 5 restaurants. I mean, I love Crew.
Yes. Yes.
I love Benchoyaki.
Oh, how good is Benchoyaki?
Benchoyaki is so damn good.
Can I give you, I don't know this, I know the holidays are coming up real quick. I just saw this. This is incredible. They're doing something really special this Sunday, and they're making like 5 different incredibly special ramen dishes for this Sunday. So go to Benchoyaki, peep that. Yeah. I think I'm going to be going there this Sunday. So yeah.
Man.
I got to give a shout out to Cantina Pedregal.
Pedregal, let's go. What a place.
Yeah,
that thing is amazing.
Brad Checky and Patricio teaming up on a project like that, and it is unlike anything
phenomenal.
Unlike anything else out there. I am a big fan of Cannon. Brad's other restaurant. Shit, I like
One
5.
more.
It's so
I
hard.
know. We go.
I mean, I didn't get fat by not eating, right? It's like I love food, and I love good food. It's easy to say the kitchen, Ella.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, the food's phenomenal there. But I like different stuff, right? And that's why things like you go to a place like Pedregal or Benchoyaki, and I'm a pretty damn good cook, and it's stuff I'm not gonna like. I don't know how to make that.
Yep.
You know, when somebody cooks something better than I can.
Yeah.
There's a spot, by the way, because I know that you're close to it, but there's a spot that our good buddy, who's a big foodie, Roy Yang, like says is his favorite restaurant. It's a super high-end omakase in Davis.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Unfortunately, from what I understand, is that they are selling and moving.
Oh no.
It was literally being a former restaurant owner in Davis. It was the first meal I ever that I had there was the best meal I've ever had in Davis.
Sushi.
It's an omakase spot, and I cannot remember its name. It is worth giving a shout out to.
Yeah.
But they, from what I understand, are selling, and I think opening up a place in Southern California and something in Carmel. But
Hikari.
There you go.
Absolutely worth going to. And then it used to be called Yakitori Yushan, and it's a different name in Davis. Same owner, they just changed the.
Okay.
It is some of the best ramen in the greater Sacramento area. Other than that, the food in Davis is poorly lacking.
Not as much as West Sacramento, though.
Also true. And, that's all going to change too. So we are putting our distillery in West Sacramento.
Nice.
I love West Sacramento.
Yeah.
West Sacramento deserves. Our company is based out of West Sacramento.
Yeah.
But our distillery will be in West Sacramento. I do know that there are some pretty big food things going on in that town.
Good.
I think you and I were talking about that when I first met you, because I've been hearing about it too. Taking where the Club Pheasant used to be, there should be some hot things going on there.
Very hot things.
Very okay,
yeah,
cool.
I like it.
It's going to be hot enough that people who don't live in that area are going to travel, want to travel to that area.
Long overdue. Of course, this happens years after
we
there.
both move out of town. They're gone. Now we can do it.
Oh man, I was just like, well, I guess I'm gonna go eat more Chinese food.
Franquette though. Have you ever go to Franquette?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Franquette is. I mean, it's a limited menu, but the food is killer.
It is.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
and the wine is good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, if you could have dinner with any person, dead or alive, who
Anthony
would that
Bourdain.
be? Ooh,
love that answer.
Didn't hesitate 1 second. I love this.
Yeah, Anthony Bourdain. I mean, if you know of the man, you'd know why I want to eat with him. No bullshit. Just loved good food and shot straight. Right. I would love to have a drink.
Yes.
With Anthony Bourdain.
Yes.
And eat at the same time.
Oh, that's great.
He he's said a lot of things, but this is such a good one. But I remember they asked him, "What's your cure for when you have an awful hangover?" And he goes, "That's simple. I smoke a joint, I drink a Coca-Cola, light up a cigarette, and then go eat Chinese food." And I'm like,
that worked.
Dang.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I've done that before.
yeah. That's the pro version.
There's so many. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because traveling and how cool of a life too. Of you get to travel the world.
Yep.
And really, you find out so much about another human being when you get to eat food with them.
Right.
And not just like eat food, but like a lot of times when they're inviting you into their home and they're showing you something that you've never had in your life.
Yeah.
That's love.
Back to your top 5 places to eat. I love Waterboy because it is like he's cooking for you at his home.
Yeah.
There is a style to what Rick makes that is there's like a homey feeling to it. So yeah, Waterboy.
Oh, love it.
You need to take Marie. Marie, if you're watching this, hi Marie. That's Renee's wife, beautiful wife. Sometime in the next couple months on a date to Waterboy.
Yeah.
And report back. I've never eaten a Waterboy.
You're fucking kidding me.
I'm not, and it's like a staple legend.
Yeah,
I used to work
sweetbreads at Waterboy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy. That's actually a really great question. I mean, my company is based off of legacy. Jackson Temple was my great grandfather. He was a California Supreme Court justice in the 1800s, and he made a lot of rulings during the hydraulic mining era, and a lot of he helped write the civil code for the state of California, and I'm his legacy, right?
Wow.
He was a great man, and that's why we wanted to name the company after him. Funny note to that, though, is he was a member of the Temperance Party. He didn't drink.
He didn't drink.
Yeah. So the symbol for the Temperance Party is a camel, and there will be very small camels on our whiskey bottle.
That is...
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Legacy that's in my opinion, I mean, it's one of the only things you have, right? When you leave this place is what do you leave, right? That's your legacy. And I hope I leave, happy kids, happy grandkids, well-rounded family, and a company that they can take pride in.
Yeah, man.
Love it.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. And hey, we appreciate you sharing your story and joining us in the lounge, man. Thank you
I appreciate the
so
opportunity,
much, man.
guys. It was, a lot of fun.
We'll see you at El Macero soon.
We'll see. We'll see you there.
All right, we out.